So we're a student org on the campus that's goal is to foster an inclusive, sustainable, and multidisciplinary community supporting accessible design and play technology. If you haven't caught on to the ADAPT, that is an acronym for accessible design and play technology. And we do this through three main avenues. That's our toy adaptation program, our design projects, and our community and K-12 outreach. And I want to dive into each of those in a little bit more detail to provide you with some background. So our toy adaptation program, there are many toys that exist that you can buy off the shelves that are very fundamentally important for development. They teach things like cause and effect. They allow you to play and cooperate with your peers. However, many of those toys, when you buy them off the shelves, are not necessarily adapted with everyone in mind. They either have small buttons or they require a certain amount of force to actually push them or get them to activate. So that cuts those toys off from a broad swath of the population from gaining those developmental benefits. And because of this, we have a process called toy adaptation. We didn't actually invent this process. It happens all over the country and the world. But what toy adaptation is it's essentially converting those off-the-shelf toys to make them accessible via alternative activation mechanisms. So here I'm showing you up on the screen a few different switches that exist. These include a chin tuck switch, a head tilt switch, a bite switch, or a large button, many of them that we have here today that you can kind of try out and get a feel for. But what our adaptation process does is it allows for any of those buttons to be actually plugged into the toy and cause the toy to activate in the same way that the small built-in or manufactured switches would. And so that means that anyone can purchase a switch that meets their needs and play with that toy. So what are we doing in this space? We are doing two things. So we're hosting toy adaptation workshops where anyone that's in the HuskyADAPT community, and at this point you are all in the HuskyADAPT community, so welcome. You can come to these workshops, they're 2-hour workshops where you can learn how to modify these toys to make them switch accessible. All of the toys that we then modify at these workshops are then donated out to clinics, schools, and families in the local area using a request form that we have on our website. So anyone can request toys and we donate them all out. Getting involved in toy adaptation, we don't require anyone to have any level of experience or technical background. It's open to anyone to come. So if this is interesting to you, we encourage you to sign up for one of our future workshops. In the fall, as well as throughout the rest of the year, we're aiming to have workshops once every 2 to 3 weeks. And again, these are 2-hour one-time commitments, no experience required. And our first event is tentatively planned for October 21st from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. It will be on campus. And the sign up for that will go out in our newsletter. So I'm sure many of you are aware of our newsletter, but we'll have a QR code that you can scan if you're not already on our newsletter. Another thing that you can do if you're really excited about toy adaptation and you actually want to teach other people at our outreach events or during one of these workshops, you can go through our LEED toy adapter certification process. And this process has 3 distinct requirements. You have to attend a safety training that's 30 minutes, it's done virtually, and then lead new adapters, so folks that have limited experience with toy adaptation at one of our regular workshops or what we're calling our yellow toy workshops, which are kind of debug toy adaptation workshops. This certification will be required if you want to actually lead people through the process of adapting toys so that we can make sure that everyone's doing it safely and we're successful in that process. So if this is your first time hearing about toy adaptation, we recommend that you don't jump right into this. You come to a couple sessions first before you jump into that actual certification. But we'll circulate a link for that LEED certification as well in our newsletter. So beyond toys, there are many other things that exist that are not designed with everyone in mind. I'm sure Many of you have interacted with a phone today, maybe kitchen utensils, or done something recreationally outdoors. Many of these tools and devices that we encounter are not accessible to a broad population. And because of this, we also have a design program, and this program is structured similar to many of the other design and engineering clubs on campus, that it's a year-long program where teams of students get paired up with needs experts in our community that have come to us with very specific accessible design challenges. So here on the screen, I'm showing 3 of those challenges that we've had previously. One was to design an adaptable lunchbox that could be opened and closed and manipulated with one limb, a tremor reduction utensil, and then a big arcade style adapted Xbox controller that is now 6-7 years old of a picture. We like to say we put this together before Xbox came out with their big fancy adaptive controller. But this just gives you an idea for some of these different adapted or design projects. This year, this is a teaser. We're still in the process of formulating the full list of design projects. But 3 that we have are developing accessible card games for electronic dealing, an EEU collaboration that's involving needs finding and some more co-design, and a wireless switch project that involves modifying some of those adapted toy switches that we have and making a wireless format of them. So if you're interested, yes. I actually don't off the top of my head, no. Cool. Awesome. So for those that I wasn't able to chat with my design chairs before I did that. For those that may not have heard that online, the EEU is an experimental education unit, which is focused on early child care and development on campus. So it's an on-campus collaboration that will be involving needs finding and some co-designing efforts there. So so that's our design projects. If you're interested in the design program specifically, the best way to get started with that is to attend our design launch event. And our design launch event will be on October 11th at 5:30, and it's going to be in Hub 334. This is where our design chairs will provide you with more detail about those 3 projects, as well as the rest of the list of projects. We typically have about 6 over the course of the year. To be involved in the design program, it's about a 5-hour-a-week commitment over the course of the year, but you can work on some really cool projects with some awesome needs experts as well. And our design chairs actually all just showed up, great timing. So if you have questions at the end of this session, you can ask them in more detail once we break out. Sorry for all of these things. Okay. So along with, if you're not ready to commit to a design project over the course of the year, you can still be involved with our design program. And this involves attending one of our showcase or our showcase events or our quarterly events where teams will present their current solutions, their current prototypes, and you can provide feedback or give tough questions or really just help our design teams move their designs forward. So these will also be advertised in our newsletter. Feel free to join anytime we're hosting these events. We love to get feedback to our design teams. Other events outside of both design and our toy adaptation program are our monthly lecture events. Here I'm realizing that they will be quarterly and not monthly this year, so I apologize for the typo. But these will be hybrid styles events, so hosted both on Zoom and in person, and they will span the topics of accessibility, disability rights, inclusive language, and so on. These will be 1-hour, one-time commitments. You can sign up in our newsletter again for any of these events. Our first lecture event will actually be given by Kelly Mack, who's a PhD candidate in computer science, working in accessibility. It will be on October 26th at 5:30 in Hub 340. So feel free to come to those events as well to learn a little bit more about the accessibility space. Other opportunities, we are actually looking for a student exec board member to serve as our treasurer. So if you are passionate about money and want to be involved in the student exec board, essentially you'll be helping with some of our budget creation and management, helping field purchase requests from primarily our design program, and working on funding applications over the year. Being on our exec board is about a 5-hour-a-week commitment, and we ask that you commit for the full year. If you're interested, you can send an email to me directly. My email is up there for more information on the actual application for that position. So we would love to have somebody join our exec board team. Here's the sign up for the newsletter. So if you don't have the newsletter already, scan this QR code and there will be a newsletter going out early next week that has all of those upcoming events that I just told you about. So many of you are probably already on the newsletter if you arrived here today, but if not, that's where you want to go. Okay, very quickly before I pass it off, we have a really awesome team of exec board members, many that are here that will help field questions at the end of this session. You'll see them leading all of our different events and work fairly closely with them over the year. We also have a really awesome ambassador team that are leaders at our events. You may have met some of them at our tabling events this last week. They'll also be around and involved in planning some really awesome activities over the course of the year. And we've got a really great team of faculty and independent mentors as well that I want to recognize. With that, I'm going to cut off the HuskyADAPT portion of this and pass it off to Anya to give a quick intro to Go Baby Go. So we'll do broad questions at the end. So.
Oh, hi everyone, I'm Anya. I am the student chair for the Go Baby Go program. So what is Go Baby Go? So it's a little bit, it's basically toy adaptation, but for ride-on cars. So we modified those ride-on cars for kids with disabilities as a mobility solution. And this is not, no, thank you. You can kind of see the little lightning McQueen on in the corner over there, but we essentially changed the way that kids are able to operate the acceleration on that car and steering. And so this is not just because like, oh, now they are able to use this, but it's actually, so a lot of these kids are between 6 months to 5 years old, and they aren't able to get like a powered motorcycle. I meant wheelchair, a wheelchair until they're about 5. And so there's no commercial solutions available. So by building these cars for them, it's actually a mobility solution for them to be able to experience the world, which in a way that they wouldn't otherwise be able to. So it started at the University of Delaware, I believe, and then Sean and Heather actually brought it to Seattle back in 2016. And then this is our second year that we've actually had it at UW. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you guys started the program?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Heather Feldner. Yeah, so as Anya mentioned, this is the Go Baby Go is a kind of much larger national, international movement. Sean and I had kind of been working separately. I was in Chicago at the time, and she was here in Seattle. And we met the first year that I was here and wound up creating a Go Baby Go Seattle. And so that really was the first several years. And then once we, since we were both here at the university, since we were involved in HuskyADAPT, and we really wanted that to be a cohesive kind of project, we integrated Go Baby Go into University of Washington so that we could involve more students and more faculty And so we are really excited, especially coming into this year. We actually just received word not too long ago that we're going to be sponsored for the entire year. There is a philanthropic education research organization that is going to be sponsoring us for the entire year, which means we're going to build 40 cars for kids in the community. We're going to have a lot of volunteer opportunities, and we're going to get to do a lot more community engagement and some program evaluation. So we're really going to use this year as just a huge development year for Go Baby Go.
Yeah, if you guys want to learn a little bit more, we do have our website updated with not only like photos and like cases that they've worked on, but also more information if you know families in the area who want to get connected and apply and provide more details. No worries. As well as you can kind of see all of our social media links if you want to follow us anywhere and hear a little bit more. And then this is a little bit of the organization, if you want to talk about this as well.
Yeah, this is actually exactly what I was just mentioning, in that we really want to take this year to develop our kind of organizational structure. We want Go Baby Go to be as successful as HuskyADAPT has been over the past several years, and that's really because of student leadership. And so Mia, one of our fantastic volunteers and students, helped us create this beautiful kind of chart. So we're looking for folks to fill roles in all of these areas. So if you're interested in taking on more of a leadership role, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I know that a few people had also approached me at like engineering launch and our club fair and stuff, that they had done Go Baby Go in high school or at their previous school. So if you do have that experience, feel free to send one of us an email, and we'd love to actually like develop our own like lead set of adapters as well to help out at our workshop. So we'd love to have your guys' help to help train new people at our workshops. Also, for our workshops, we ask like, you don't have to have any experience with anything. You just show up and we will teach you how to do everything. So far, so Go Baby Go at UW, we've had over 100 ride-on cars, 10 in-person workshops. We did 4 virtual workshops, I think, over the course of last year. 3 community builds, 7 courses, and over 250 members. I think the events that we were able to put on even during COVID times were pretty incredible, if any of you guys were there. And we're excited to have quite a few more this year. Oh, here's some kids, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. And then like right now we're planning for 3 different types of cars with like different types of control and ways to steer as well. So we're excited to keep expanding and getting different manuals and trying out different things. And a lot of the times too, when they're filling out the form to ask for a car, like we modify it specifically and customize it for a car. And then we get to actually like get them situated and see them actually get in it for the first time, which is also like a very awesome experience to work directly with them. Okay, so this is a one-time commitment. We're going to try to send it out to whoever's on our volunteer registration email list, as well as send it out through the HuskyADAPT newsletter. So, and it's going to work the same as adaptation events, where it's like first come, first serve. And we usually do fill out pretty quickly. So as soon as you see the link, you should just throw in your information. And typically it's like one weekend will be a 5 to 6 hour build. And that will be from start to finish. And then you'll get to actually meet the families as well. And then as Heather mentioned, we did get sponsored this year. So we're looking to do hopefully at least 1 event per quarter. And then if you guys want to get involved and join our volunteer list as well, you can scan this QR code or feel free to shoot us an email at gobabygo@uw.edu or come up to talk to any of us after this as well. I'm going to hand it off to Heather to talk a little bit about Create, but feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks, Anya. I'm going to do one thing really quickly before I jump into my Create spiel here. And that is, I'm going to hide the subtitles because we have double subtitles. So now if everyone wants, you'll still be able to have access to them if you want on Zoom. And they're here live as well, but they won't be overlapping. Okay. So it is also my great honor and privilege to talk to you all today about a partner organization for HuskyADAPT called Create. And this is a new accessibility and research center on campus in the last 2 years. Create is an acronym, and it stands for Center for Research and Education on Accessible Technology and Experiences. That's why we call it CREATE, because that's a really long name. But CREATE's mission is to not only make technology accessible, but also make the world accessible through technology. And it brings together folks from all different disciplines within the university that had kind of independently been doing accessibility related work. And we kind of came together and said, we need to develop a center around this, because this is such a strong body of work here at the university and also at Seattle. So we had an initial center goal of raising $10 million for the first 5 years of operations. And we've had a very generous startup gift from Microsoft for a significant chunk of that. So we work really closely with the Microsoft folks. And really, our center includes not only education initiatives, it includes translation activities. So we're kind of getting out into the community, we're creating partnerships. And then we are also, of course, doing research in accessibility in a variety of ways. And what we have really kind of come together to have underpin our center is a disability studies perspective. So this is really amplifying the lived experience of disabled people in our community. Our center includes people who identify as disabled or with a disability or chronic health condition, and that's really central to our thinking about what disability means in society and kind of some of the access issues and social issues that go along with that. As I mentioned, we have a group of founders that are coming from many different disciplines. We have representation in our center leadership from the School of Medicine, Computer Science and Engineering, Mechanical Engineering, the iSchool, as well as HCDE. And so it's just a really great interdisciplinary group that have kind of come together over the past couple of years. And as I mentioned, the center would not have been possible without the support of Microsoft. And that's a relationship that we really continue to value. And we work a lot with the Microsoft team and their accessibility team in particular. And so for those of you who might be in fields like computer science or engineering and may have an interest in connecting with Microsoft, being involved in CREATE would be a great way to do that. We have had some really great successes with other funding as well, related from everything from typical research grant funding from the NIH or the National Science Foundation, Department of Transportation, as well as NIDLR, which is a research institute that focuses on independent living and rehabilitation research. So not only do we have industry support, but we also have funding support from federal and non-federal sources. And that funding support gets passed down to really invite students and staff to get involved. And so we right now have we're growing. We have several postdocs now, a couple of whom are here today. So that's super exciting. And we really would like to have all of you involved as well. And so there is a Slack community. The web address is here, but we also do have a QR code at the end of the presentation that you can scan to get involved in our Slack community as well. And then you'll get all the notices about seminars and events and things like that. One of our big accomplishments over the first year was also to form an advisory board. And again, this consists of kind of big names in various academic and industry disciplines, as well as, again, including people with lived experience of disability. So that's something that's, again, central to what we're doing. Just in terms of some Educational accomplishments, there's just listed here a few of the events that we've held that have an education focus. So again, this is really geared towards students, whether that be undergrad or graduate. So there really are a lot of educational opportunities to take advantage of. There are actually mini grants for students, regardless of whether you are an undergraduate or a graduate student. You can apply for a Create Mini Grant to help support your work. If you have a particular research question or design challenge that you're thinking about, you can receive Create money to fund your project. Again, all of the workshop options that have been mentioned today are always open to participate as well. In terms of translation, a couple of the things that we've done over the past few years in terms of applications that have been released broadly, open source to the community. A conversation series focused on, it's called Reimagining Mobility, and that's been with speakers from within and outside of the university, doing all sorts of accessibility work, from architecture to urban planning to what else? Streets, I was going to say streets and sidewalks, but that's urban planning. To real estate, that's another example of one of the topics that we did last year. So all around accessibility. And then we're going to be continuing on several hack fests. So again, that's a one-time commitment. If that's something that interests you, you will continue to find out through the Create Slack channel. That one of the great things about translation is that if you as a student are looking for connections to community partners, this is a great way to go about that. We have dedicated staff focused on connecting folks within UW to folks outside in the broader Seattle community, especially related to disability or accessibility organizations. We do a lot of open source hackathon type work, and that is with the goal of just getting everything that we're doing out into the community as quickly as possible. I mentioned research initiatives. I'll just go talk through or show you some images from a couple of those. First, we have some faculty in Create working on making accessible. So how do we work with the tools for design and production in a way that those tools are designed for use by a wide variety of people, and how do the products that we engage meet that description also, with the goal of accessibility and design and universal design, kind of getting out into the workforce as people are trained up in it. We have a large focus on mobile and wearable accessibility. So this is everything from touch screens to different physical hardware that can assist with engaging in written material or computer material, app-based work, as well as environmental feature apps that can give a user information about the status of their immediate environment. So there's a lot of different wearable opportunities to get involved in as well. One of the areas that I'm involved in is related to accessibility and human development. So I come from a rehab background, so I'm trying to understand the connection between mobility and technology and how those things interact and how those things are perceived. And really looking at removing barriers, like Anya mentioned. A lot of kids don't have access to technologies that can support their development, and so how do we change that? We're also looking at how assistive technology impacts things like play, mobility, socialization, that sort of thing. And so right now we're running a couple of studies using this device, which is a pediatric wheelchair called the Explore Mini. It's specifically designed for children 1 to 3. So it's the first device in the US that fills that gap that Anya mentioned. And so we're collecting a lot of data to understand how kids learn how to use this type of technology, as well as where they go and what they do with that and what their families think about it too. and what their muscles are doing when they're interacting in a device like this. Want to also finally mention urban accessibility and mobility. We've got some folks in Create that have just been really superstars in the kind of transportation and urban accessibility area, looking at the accessibility of sidewalks and public spaces to try and map cities in terms of what the accessible routes are for people who move around in different ways, or for people who may have various sensory disabilities. So there's just some really awesome work happening within this space as well. One of the things we wanted to point out for you all is the accessibility seminar. Create has a seminar every quarter that takes a little bit of different form depending on which quarter it is. Sometimes it's a book club, sometimes it's more of an article discussion. This year, this quarter, it's a book club. It's meeting Mondays from 3:30 to 4:30 on Zoom. And anyone is welcome. So you don't have to necessarily register. This is something that we really just want to use to develop community. And we're reading this quarter the book, The Pretty One, on life, pop culture, disability, and other reasons to fall in love with me. So that's a really awesome experience to be engaging in with your peers. Here is the QR code that I promised that we would have. This will get you to the sign up for the Slack channel for Create, the specific student channel, and we'll use this channel to really communicate all of the opportunities and resources that are available to you. And we really want, we're still a very new center on campus and we're growing, and we really want you all to be a part of it and help us shape what it looks like in the future. I'll turn it over back to Alyssa. Thanks.
Cool. Okay, thank you both for speaking. Here are all of those important QR codes if you missed any of them. And we encourage you to go to our websites as well, follow us on various social media platforms. But at this point, I would like to open it up to broad scale questions so that our folks on Zoom can also participate. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time at the end where you can come up and check out some of our stuff and ask questions of both Heather and Anya and the rest of the HuskyADAPT team. So are there any broad questions for the good of the group? For myself or the other two wonderful presenters? On Zoom, you can post in the chat or you can unmute yourself as well. Yeah, in the back. Yeah, so question for those on Slack or on Zoom. The question was if the design teams did a theoretical design or if they built something physical. And the answer is that you do both. So you'll spend about the first quarter to a quarter and a half doing all of the ideation and the original kind of CAD work and design. But then the hope is that you spend the second half of the year actually building physical prototypes that ultimately could be passed back off to the needs experts. That's the ultimate goal there for the project. So we've got a few things up here today that are like in that early prototype stage for you to check out. Other questions? Anyone on Zoom? Yeah.
So thank you so much for the really awesome presentation. And I'm curious, like kind of building off of the previous question, when the ideation happens, do kids or family members take part in the ideation in any way?
Yeah, so question for folks on Zoom was that if the kids or the needs experts specifically take part in that ideation, and the answer is yes. So all of the teams will meet with their needs experts pretty close to the beginning of the team creation, and the hope is that they keep in good communication with them over the course of that design process so they can provide critical feedback, because they are our needs experts after all, so that's what we want to have them involved with.
Thank you. Just a quick one.
Yeah.
When you say needs experts, like how do they admit that in the presentation?
So the question is, who are the needs experts? So there are folks that have come to us from within the university, outside of the university. They're either individuals that identify as having a disability, or clinicians, or folks within the UW that have specific projects as well. So they're really coming from anywhere. We open up our design project solicitation over the summer and advertise it on our newsletter to get as many projects as possible. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, one last call for questions for the group. Yes. Very complicated?
Yeah.
Oh. So historically, we have accepted the majority of people that have applied. We do have a limited number of spots, so I can't guarantee anything. But our philosophy around our design program is not to exclude people that don't have the technical skills built up yet. So even if you're a first-year student or second-year student, we still want to encourage you to apply for a team, because we want good, well-rounded teams. So there will be an application, and the design chairs can talk to you in more detail about the actual contents of that application. But the application will open next week after that design launch event on Tuesday, and it'll be open for a week, right? Exactly about a week, yeah. Who do we contact? This is from Zoom. Who do we contact? I know you can all see it, but I'll read it for the group. If we want to know about a specific project or a division of activities. So the design chairs will be able to tell you more about each of the specific projects and all that those will entail. Either emailing them, and all their emails exist on the HuskyADAPT website, or coming to that design launch event, which is next Tuesday at 5:30. Yes. Yes, Tom.
And as well, people bring it back. The same goes for any other like arm of HuskyADAPT or create. Emails are on websites, are on faculty lists. Look for them in there.
Yes.
Lots of people who them are extremely approachable, and that includes like basically everybody involved in effort. So send it, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, so we do a lot of our communication, to kind of reiterate on here. Feel free to email any of us. Our emails are on the HuskyADAPT website in a few different places. We do a lot of our communication through the newsletter, but you can also, I don't have it up here, but our email is adaptUW@uw.edu. So it's also up here, I think, on a piece of paper, if you don't want to write that down right now. So yeah, feel free to send an email, connect with us on social media, any and all of the above. We also have a channel on the Create Slack now. So if you want to talk to us through the Create Slack channel, that's another good way to do that. So, okay, if there are not any questions for the group, what we're going to do is kind of strategically station our groups around. So if you're interested in design, our 3 design chairs back there, Mia, Valerie, and Tom, will be able to answer specific questions that you have. I know, I'm sorry, people on Zoom, this is not very conducive to you, but I'll hang around up here if you've got questions. And then if we want Nicole to talk toy adaptation and outreach, and Anya and Heather can kind of split maybe into the back somewhere to talk create and go baby go. So feel free to come out up here and check out some of our stuff or ask specific questions of our exec board. So thank you all so much for coming. We hope to see you at events in the future. Yeah, and if you don't have any specific questions, feel free to head out. So thank you all.